Thank you, and good morning to everybody here to the meeting of the subcommittee of the 7th of December 2022. You're all very welcome. My first remit is the election of chair, and as the presiding person at this meeting, due to the fact that I'm chair of the licensing committee, I'll ask please for a nomination for chairman for this subcommittee. Are there any nominations?
So I nominate you for chair, please.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. And may I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Bagwell. So straight on to housekeeping. Mrs. Cutler, thank you.
Please note that this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. In order to ensure the meeting is managed effectively, please could everyone present please follow these ground rules for speaking. Only speak when invited to by the chairman. State your name before you speak if you have not been introduced by name. After each party has made their representation, the chairman will ask each person in turn if they have any questions or comments. However, if at any point you would like to speak again, please use the raise your hand function, but as we're all here in person, you don't need to do that today. For those in the room, please note if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by the way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point along Brady Road under the flyover. I should point out that we do have a fire test every Wednesday morning, so in all likelihood that will go off shortly and we'll just pause for a moment, so it's not the real thing. Finally, if joining remotely, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum. Can we all ensure that our mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So firstly, we start then with apologies. We do have apologies from Councillor Kelsey, who couldn't be with us today due to another commitment. So that means that we welcome Councillor Bagwell, who is our first reserve. Thank you very much for attending today, Councillor Bagwell. And we also thank our second reserve, Councillor Johnson, for being with us today. And I believe that Councillor Johnson is going to stay to observe the meeting, which is perfectly acceptable. So moving on then to declarations of interest, I'll ask in turn, any declarations of interest, Councillor Williams?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest, Councillor Bagwell?
None, thank you.
Thank you. So we move on then to item agenda number 4, which is protocol for public speaking, clearly set out in the agenda item with regard to meetings of the Licensing Subcommittee, and it is there. I hope everybody has a copy and I hope everybody's had access to that. Move on then to the substantive, which is item 5, which is an application simplypleasure.com 333-35335 Holdenhurst Road, Bournemouth, BH8 HBT. And it's Mr. Timothy Hemming of ABS Holdings has applied for the renewal of the licence to use premises at 333 to 335 Holdenhurst Road as a sex establishment to trade for a further 12-month period. And the matter is brought before the Licensing Subcommittee for determination. So we'll just go through then process and just introduce everybody to everybody else. My name is Councillor Jukes Batts and I'm chair of the Licensing Committee and chair of the subcommittee for the purposes of today's business. And my ward is Creekmore, Hilborn and Waterloo. Councillor Bagwell.
I'm Councillor Bagwell. I'm the councillor for Hamworthy and I'm also on the Licensing Committee.
Thank you very much. Councillor Williams.
Yes, I'm Lawrence Williams. I'm a member for Little Down the Knifeford, which is the neighbouring ward to Holdenhurst Road.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Johnson, we've already thanked you, but you are, would you like to?
Councillor Toby Johnson, ward member for Alderley and Moore Valley, and member of the Licensing Committee.
Toby won't be taking part in today's purposes, but just to introduce him as he is in the room, be rude to ignore him. And we now move on to our officers. Mrs. Jardine.
Tanya Jardine, licensing officer and who dealt with this application.
Thank you very much. Mrs. McNamara.
Thank you, Chair. Joanne McNamara, senior lawyer, BCP Council, and I'm the legal advisor to the Licensing Subcommittee today.
Thank you. And Mrs. Cutler, which you've already heard from.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Cutler and I'm the clerk of the Licensing Subcommittee.
Thank you. And Mr. Hemmings, our applicant.
Good morning, Tim Hemming, applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Hemmings. We have one objector, but our objector has written representation, but they are not attending and they wish their name not to be disclosed for today's meeting, which of course we will adhere to. So just to note then that everybody who has given their intention to speak has been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw with regard to their intention to speak notifies me now. I'm not seeing a hand, so I'll take that as accepted. So I'll pop through the proposed procedure in order of speaking for the hearing. The licensing officer will present the report, that's Mrs. Jardine, and then the applicant will make their application, that's you, Mr. Hemmings. There'll be questions of the applicant by all party, and members of the committee will go first, and Mrs. Jardine will have the right to ask questions. There'll be then the responsible authorities or other persons would put forward their representations, but we don't have anybody present, so we will do our best as a subcommittee to draw those points out on behalf of the objector, who is deemed to be the other person. There'll be questions of the other person, which is not going to happen because obviously you're not here to answer those questions in this case. And then everybody will be given an opportunity to sum up, and the party who spoke first will go last. And the hearing will then conclude, and the subcommittee will deliberate in private with our legal advisor and clerk present. The notification subcommittee's decision will be given within a period of 5 working days, which begins with the day and the last day in which the hearing is held in accordance with the regulations, and that is today, December the 7th, Wednesday. Fire alarm. Okay. We had just got to the end of the notification statement. I think that I did get to the end of that, unless anybody wishes me to read that out again. Purposes of the meeting? No, we're all content, right? So I now ask all parties to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or to make representations. So, Mr. Hemmings, are you content?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Jardine?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. McNamara?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So finally, just remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they've already given in writing, but expand on their own written representations, and all questions to come through the chairman, please, and no cross-examination of parties, although that would be difficult today because we only have one party present. So I'll now ask Mr. Jardine if she kindly put forward her report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this application was made by Mr. Timothy Hemming of ABS Holdings for the renewal of the sex establishment licence at simplypleasure.com, 333 to 335 Holdenhurst Road, for a further 12-month period. The premises have had the benefit of a sex establishment licence permitting the sale of adult DVDs, novelties, toys and magazines since 2002, with Mr. Hemming as the operator. The application made complies with all the legislation, and the necessary site and newspaper licences were published in accordance with that legislation. As a result, one objection was received. No objections were received from any of the responsible authorities, as are identified under the Licensing Act, who were also consulted. The objectors' concerns were that the premises were close to a bus stop and the website was on the window, and by accessing the website, inappropriate content could be accessed easily. The objection included the objection included a picture of a body part. However, this content was not published. It was a fake body part. This content was not published as part of the report due to its nature. On inquiring with BCP Council's Transport and Engineering Department, we have been informed that the bus stop outside of the premises has been there since 1960s. The licensing authority controls, by way of conditions on the licence, the content that can be advertised on the premises and visible to the public. However, does not control any content advertised online. This would be subject to advertising or other regulations outside of the licensing authority's remit. During the time these premises have been in operation, the licensing authority have not received any complaints relating to its operation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jardine. Are there any questions for Mrs. Jardine? Councillor Williams?
No, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Bagwell?
No, thank you, Chair.
I'd just like some clarification, if I may, please, on the disconnect or connect with regard to the website address. Could you, for clarification, could you just explain with regard to our responsibility and the responsibility, how that is licensed, because it's not within the remit of this committee, but could you explain how it is licensed and what constraints are upon that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. To be honest, I'm not sure how it's licensed. I would say it would be under the any advertising regulations. We don't get involved at all. It's just anything that's on the shop window, that is something that we would be responsible for. As for the advertising on websites, I can't really provide you that information. I'm not.
Right. I think my concern is with regard to that factually as an officer, there's a website address that is the main contention of the objection. And as to the linkage of that and our ability to be able to say or not that would be there or not, that is my concern. Can you comment on that?
So the actual name of the premises is simplypleasure.com. So even if the website was not on the window, that is still the name of the premises, it would be easily accessible. The policy does state what can be authorised on the window, and the name of the premises is one. It can be authorised on the window, provided it's been approved by the council, which it has been. Does that answer your query,
That's really
Chair?
useful. Thank you very much, Mr. Jardine. Does that help the subcommittee for clarification? Thank you.
It just may help
Thank you,
to
Mrs.
clarify.
McMurray.
It's just that on page 25 and 26 of the committee bundle, there's the term in the current licence dealing what can be displayed in the windows, and there's no. It would appear there's no prohibition about displaying a website address.
Yeah.
Provided it doesn't breach any of the other terms, which is the display of photos, etc. But the website address itself doesn't appear to be prohibited and doesn't need consent.
Yes,
that's right.
No, that's very helpful. It's just to have confirmation for the purposes of the meeting. The meeting is in the public domain, and I wish the public to understand the constraints which the subcommittee has with regard to that, our remit and the remit of other licensable authorities. Thank you very much for that clarification. It's extremely helpful. Thank you very much, Mrs. Jardine, for your report. So moving on then, we now have Mr. Hemmings. So opportunity for you to put your application forward. You have the floor.
Good morning. I don't want to elaborate too much. Obviously, you've read the report from the licensing officer, and also you've read the objector and the letter that they put in, and I'm sure that you've read my reply. I'm happy to expand on any questions that you may ask, but I don't feel that you want me to go over my reply in great detail. So look, I'm happy to answer any questions and concerns that you may have.
Thank you very much. I'm having great difficulty with my computer at the moment, actually finding your, oh, there you are, right, okay. It won't scroll down. Okay, thank you very much. Members, are there any questions for Mr. Hemmings? Councillor Lawrence? Councillor Williams?
Either of them. No, I haven't at this time, thank you.
And Councillor Bagwell?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Perhaps you, from your point of view, Mr. Hemmings, would like to explain and enlarge upon the concern of the objector is, and we'll just go back and find it, there we are, the objection. You very kindly wrote to the objector to explain with regard to her concerns as to where the matter sat with regard to the website. And the objector says that she wishes to object to licence for the renewal of Simply Pleasure, and it sits around mainly the bus stop and also the web address. Now, the web address does seem to be causing a bone of contention. What are your thoughts with regard to the web address on the window and the objector's concerns? Thank you.
To be totally honest, I think they're unfounded. If, for example, she seems to be objecting about the website, not about the way the premises is operated. That particular shop has been there and had a licence for actually 20 years. The one down the road I've operated for the best part of 35 years, I think, and I also operate another 22 licensed sex shops over the country, mostly with the exception of one with the name simplypleasure.com and Prowler. If she's concerned about the naming of the shop, she should really do some Google searches and, you know, stop her children logging on and looking for these things. If a Google search was done for Simply Pleasure, the website would still come up, whether it be .com or whether it wouldn't. The same for Ann Summers, the same for any other department store that operates on the high street. So, you know, I don't really know I just don't, I can't see that her objections are founded in any way.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And of course, we don't know the gender of the objector, so I prefer if we would refer to the gender of the objector as they rather than the gender you use, please, because obviously the person has asked that they not be referred to or named or with regard to gender or anything else. It'd be great if we could just use they in future. Thank you. Thank you for that then, Mr. Henry. So based on that, are any further questions, members? Councillor Williams?
Not a question, just really an observation. I spent 40 years in advertising, and I think what you've got is a very clever bit of advertising, and I can't see that anybody can object to it because that's the registered name of your business. I can understand, however, somebody taking exception, genuine concern. So I have sympathy for both sides, but not done on the marketing.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Bagwell?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Judging.
Mr. Henry?
No,
No further.
Yeah. No, hang on. So there hasn't been any complaints from any residents in the area or any other councillors or anything else, no?
No, not that I'm aware of. As I said, you know, I used to live on Holderness Road back in the 80s. Yeah, it was my first store, to be honest with you, when I moved down from Leicester. And, you know, I had that store and then I moved up and we bought the other store. You know, we've been on the Holderness Road for, like I said, the best part of 35 years. You know, and we know a lot of people down there. You know, we live in harmony with the rest of the people that are trading in the retail sector. So, you know, we have no complaints and hopefully we'll continue not to.
Perfect. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Mr. Hemmings. Yes, and indeed, you're right there, Councillor Bagwell, as you draw attention to the fact that it is highlighted in the report that there haven't been any complaints. So thank you for that confirmation. So there are no further questions then. We'll then move to the other person to make the representation. They're not here, so we have seen the objection. And I'm at a loss or trying my very best to try and tease something out of this were the objectors to be here. But I feel the question would be stemmed around the website, which we've established is not within the remit of our subcommittee. We've had an explanation kindly given by our legal advisor. So other than that, I don't think there's much that I can pull from that unless my legal advisor is able to advise me something else that could be raised.
No, Chair, not in relation to the wording of the objection, but it may well be that the subcommittee just wants to explore the locality of the area that the shop is located in, whether the objectors raising the fact that there's a bus stop and the impact on children. But obviously you need to look at it around as well as whether there's been any any changes in the area since the last licence was given. It may be worth Ms Jardine just expanding on that issue. They will just explore everything.
That's very kind of you, extremely helpful. Ms Jardine, could you support us in that, please?
Thank you, Chair. From my knowledge, there's been no great change to the locality. It's still a mixture between commercial and residential premises. No change since last renewal, the previous for a few years.
The subcommittee are very well aware of the area, especially Councillor Williams being one of the natives, so to speak, in that area. Neighbouring, yeah. And Councillor Bagwell and I know Bournemouth extremely well, so we would be aware that there were no changes. We haven't had any schools or any retirement homes or any such that may have an impact upon such as this. It stays as is, but thank you for that confirmation. With regard to the bus stop, we heard from you that the bus stop has been there for since 1960, so the maths, that's a long time, isn't it? That's 60 years, yeah, right. So I think we're established that it's not something that would have any impact upon this application. So that said, then I feel that there's not much more we can tease out. The locality of the area stays substantially the same with its makeup. There's no new infrastructure in place. the bus stop as being there is well integrated and well established. So there being no change in the area, which is one of the aspects, obviously, which we want to explore. So I think we're satisfied that is the case. Thank you for your assistance there, Mr. McNamara, most appreciated. So with that said then, we cannot ask questions of the objector because the objector is not with us, but I hope that it's been seen that we've tried to tease out as much as is possible on the objector's behalf without the objector not being here. So that said then, unless there's any further questions of any parties or anybody who wants to contribute in any other way, no, okay. We will go parties to sum up, and as we have only one with us, we will ask you, Mr. Hemmings, if you'd like to sum up, please.
No, thank you very much. I've heard all the evidence. I think you've explored it thoroughly. Hopefully you'll feel fit to renew the licence for another year.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Jardim, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that said then, if there's no further contributions, I will conclude the hearing, and the subcommittee will now adjourn in private with the legal advisor and the clerk to deliberate. And the notification of the subcommittee's decision will be provided within a period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held in accordance with the regulations. Mrs. McNamara, you okay?
Yes.
Yeah. There wasn't something you wanted to raise. No, sorry, I didn't know if you were trying to get my attention. I do beg your pardon then. Okay, so Mr. McNamara will now advise us with regards to any right of appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. There's possibly a right of appeal for the applicant in the following circumstances: a refusal to grant a new licence, a refusal to renew an existing licence, a refusal to transfer an existing licence, a refusal to vary an existing licence, imposition of conditions on a licence or revocation of a licence, and that appeal period is 21 days from the date when the person is notified in writing, and that appeal is to the magistrate's court.
Mr. Hemmings, in fact, we would be able to deliberate and give you a response today. So if you wished, once the meeting is complete, if you wish to stay in the building, we can deliberate and we can give you our response today. But it's a matter for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So the meeting is now concluded. So if the parties who are not Well, thank you very much. Just to reconvene for the decision for today's subcommittee hearing, December 7th. And the subcommittee has agreed on the following decision. As the premises held an existing licence, Section 10 of the SEV policy applies. And having considered the representation received and the oral submissions today, the subcommittee agrees to renew the licence, having noted that there are no material change to the character of the area or the locality. So, Mr. Hemmings, a full decision in writing will be given to you, and that will be sent to you within the 5 working days. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Good morning.
Thank you, Chair.